The biggest changes I made in my 40s to make it feel like I was starting over was, first of all, putting God first. My faith has been tested. My faith has been exercised. My faith has been practiced. My faith has been working. Faith without works is dead. And I realized recently, faith feels a lot like delusion. You know how the kids these days are saying, be delulu until it's true, or whatever they're saying, like just be delusional with your goals, your ambitions, like really just like shoot for the stars. And I'm realizing faith is that. Faith is hoping kind of in the unknown. And I always thought faith was something more like belief. Like, yes, I believe that this is, I have faith that this is going to come true. I have faith that this is going to be okay. But faith is a lot of just walking out here blindly, trying to figure things out. And I don't know if I've necessarily started things over more than I have just picked up where I left off again, with more information, more knowledge, more experience, more hurt, more grief, and choice, the power of choice, because I was very much a people pleaser. And that didn't just go away in my 40s. I didn't become this magical person that just, no, boundaries. But don't get me wrong, there is a lot of that. But I had to endure a lot of loss before I truly shed that layer of people pleasing that was ultimately ruling me. So starting over in my 40s, I realized there are a lot of parts of me I don't want to continue on with. There are a lot of things that terrify me that I want to have the courage and bravery to face. And there are a lot of things I need to say that in good timing or maybe bad timing just have to be said. And that's pretty much the journey I've been on. Leading up to my 40s, I talked about starting this 40B40 challenge. And I'm so glad I did, because having that pause before my birthday, whether I was turning 40, 36, 21, I think everyone should take a break before their birthday. Not doing the same things that you always do, changing your habits for, even if it's 2 weeks. Having those 40 days for me, though, really impacted the way I entered this new decade. And that fresh start that I needed, because I was about to endure, little to my knowledge, I was about to endure a lot of heavy grief and loss and sadness and change. I was about to experience a lot of big change and shifts that, had I not stopped to release some of that excess weight, literally and figuratively, if I hadn't stopped to start working out again, if I hadn't stopped to realize what my priorities are and no longer, I would have just came into 40 the same way I did my entire 30s, which to an extent, not so bad. But I also wasn't pushing myself or challenging myself anymore. And I was complacent in my friendships. I was complacent with my work. As soon as I turned 40, I challenged myself with my business. I said, if I don't want to do this, what am I going to do? Figure it out. If my friend group, if things aren't going right, what can we do to fix this? Or do I have to leave the situation? And unfortunately, it resulted in friendship breakups, which felt inevitable. After a while, the more I started to work on myself, the more I started to prioritize myself and consider myself, I realized that I was not in a healthy dynamic. Could it have been approached differently, or even helped, saved? I don't know what the word I'm looking for is right now. I'm just talking from the dome and from the heart. But could any of those friendships, and I don't mean just from the past couple of years, I mean in the past decade, my friend group has shrunk tremendously. But it's okay, because now my friend group feels like family. They've always felt like family. And I just didn't feel that with other friends in the past. That family feeling of real love and consideration that was mutual. So when things kind of hit the fan and everything was changing, when my prayers were starting to come true, that's why people say, like, be careful what you pray for, because it can happen so quickly, whether you're ready or not. And for some of it, I was ready. For some of it, I felt it happening, or I felt it about to happen. Like I could sense something major was changing in this friend group, because I have changed. And I'm starting to recognize things that I used to just ignore. I'm starting to feel like I don't like this anymore. I started to stand up for myself. I started to just take this, the comments and the stuff I didn't like on the chin, and just kept my, they say, like, turn the other cheek. Yeah, I was doing a lot of that. But it doesn't mean that I left these situations an angel or perfect. No, there was parts of me that I did not like in those friendships or in those group dynamics that I've prioritized and put to the forefront to improve on. And I've realized that those were the best decisions I've ever could have made in my life. Letting go, starting over in terms of just like my environment, whether it was temporary or long term. I knew it had to be done. We all had to be done. My sobriety, that had to be done. Even if Beyonce came up to me today and was like, hey, let's do a shot for your birthday. Let's take some Sir Davis. I would say no. It's just my health. It's just not worth it. My health was starting to I didn't feel healthy coming into my 40s. Although I was starting to work out, the things I was eating and even drinking weren't landing in my body the same. I felt yucky. The hangovers were intense to the point where I was having like heart palpitations, and my headboard, my bed was shaking because my heart was beating so fast. And that scared me. That truly terrified me. So starting over meant I know I have to quit drinking. I know I have to break some of these habits. I love going out. I love to party. I still do. But the drinking, this friend group, my work, my career, my business, things have to change. When I started working out again, and now it's been, I would say, a consistent 2 years of just really taking care of my body and being mindful of what I eat, what I drink, or not drink, not eat, has made a world of a difference. I would even say losing a lot of my money to the point where I was broke. And I hate using that word, but I was BROKE just last year. I'd only made like $10,000 in 2024 on paper. And maxing out credit cards, using my savings was life altering, because now I had to live life from a lens that I wasn't used to. I had been so used to income and a job in the past even, that when money wasn't coming in as quickly and it was going out just as quick, part of me was okay with it, because I knew this isn't the work I'm destined to do. So I'm willing to sacrifice it. But I had stopped working completely, which eventually led me into this deep, dark hole of debt and learning how to manage my emotions with money. I've heard this a few times, but most recently it resonated with me because I was going through it again, where a few of my closings and my coaching business is kind of slow, but my closing files for my transaction business, the dates changed, things fell out of escrow, so I wasn't going to get paid and I would be short money. And it was starting to eat at me. It was starting to stress me out. My mood, it was affecting my mood, my attitude towards people, towards work, towards getting out of bed, what I was, binging on online, on social media, getting caught up in the doom scroll. And I was like, God, I don't like being like this. I don't like allowing money to consume me like this. I don't like money ruling me and just dictating my emotions. Like, I know I'm worthy. I know I'm capable of so much more, but everything I'm doing just isn't working. But I'm afraid that if I abandon these things too soon, that I might be giving up on something that I just needed to have patience for. So a few lessons came to top of mind. Today was, even though you're not getting paid for it, doesn't mean it's not working. It's just not profitable yet, right? So that's one element. And then I was watching a podcast yesterday, a business podcast, and one of the guests is, follows God, talks about God, runs a successful coaching business, YouTube channel, all those things that I actually aspired to do as well. And they asked him, does God want us to have money? Does God believe that we are, should be rich and things of that nature? Because a lot of people misconstrued the statement, money is the root of all evil. And he clarified it and said that, we shouldn't love money. Loving money is the root of all evil, not the money. And then that reminded me of a saying that I read in my phone every morning when I do my devotionals and affirmations. And it says, those who love pleasure suffer from want. And I said, okay, I think my priorities are all messed up. So what does this journey with money look like? Again, renewed, reframed, because for the month of March and some of February, my prayers were very much, God, show me my spending habits, show me where I'm messing up, where I'm greedy, where I'm suffering. I just asked God to reveal these things to me because I want to change. I want to grow. I want to evolve. I want to do the big, scary things. I want to make a lot of money. I want to be rich and wealthy. But I don't want to do it in a way that I have to compromise my values or my morals or my mission or what I think I'm destined to do at this season of my life. So the past few weeks have been a lot of lack, for lack of better words. It's been a lot of grief, a lot of loss, a lot of deals falling out of escrow, going to doctor's appointments and the stress of going to the doctors, going to the dentist, having to get dental bills, credit card payments are overdue. It was a lot of just reminders of those. And in the beginning, it was like really stressing me out. And it was actually today where I said, you know what? I need to stop reading these emails and internalizing them as I'm in trouble. If I don't do something now, I'm a failure. And come up with a game plan to where instead of this discouraging me, it actually inspires me. It inspires me to focus on the little details that I'm skipping, down to making sure I wash the dishes on the day I said I'm going to wash the dishes, taking out the trash, doing these vlogs, listening to God, praying. It's really praying and meaning these prayers and being prepared for whatever God sends you. I feel a lot of my prayers, the answers are in the form of a test. And I think that's across the board for all of us. And some tests are easy, some tests are difficult, some tests are long lasting, and others are quick. I can't determine what it is, but I do know that more recently, when I surrender to God and when I replace my worry with prayers, with joy, with gratitude, easier said than done, because it took me a lot of practice. and a lot of heavy incidents in the moment to remember to do that, because it's so quick for me to get off course and to complain and to be stuck on the couch or just sitting in this chair staring at a wall like, what am I going to do next? This isn't working. When I count back the days of how long I've been consistent at it, 3 weeks. Okay, Lil, you can't. Rome wasn't built in a day. Is that the right saying? You get what I'm saying. If I'm out here trying to build an empire, I can't expect it to be done in 3 weeks. I can get a lot done in 3 weeks. I can speed through this process, but I also have to accept the parts that are going to be a little delayed. And a lot of it had to do with my mindset and my attitude. And starting over meant not expecting everything to change the day I turned 40 or even the first year of my 40s. I'm about to be 42 and doing those big, scary things like going to doctor's appointments and letting go of friendships that had lasted decades, years, time invested, heartbreak, love invested. You know, these are things that I had to surrender to because I prayed for them. God removed the distractions from my life. And then a whole friend group disappears? What? So when I feel tested or when I feel like I'm off course, I have to remember, like, God always has my back. Even when I mess up, even when I'm not my best or doing things the right way or the correct way, or when I do F up and probably could have handled things a little better, probably could have been quiet instead of running my big mouth. Those are all part of my journey that I needed to experience, because now I have these markers along the journey to remind me, like, okay, well, the last time I did this, this happened. We can risk it, but do you want to go down that path of pain again? No. So now when I say, if I'm feeling a feeling and I don't live there as long as I used to, I do my best to not dwell and linger in the pain or the lack or the fears or the suffering, because it's much lighter. I sleep better. I feel better physically, emotionally, spiritually. All aspects of me feel so much better when I'm forward and honest and truthful about what it is I'm experiencing. This job is so hard. How do I get better at it? So instead of just giving up, maybe I need to take a sales class. Maybe I need to learn more about negotiations. And that's where I'm at with my business. I'm not selling my coaching programs or products, and I know that's for a reason. It's not because I'm a bad coach. I know I'm an excellent coach, and I could coach anyone. And it took me a while to believe that too. It took me a while to believe that I could be a coach to even people with accolades, awards, higher titles, and money, more money than me. It took me a while to believe that. And could I use more training? Yeah, absolutely. Could I read more books, study more? Absolutely. That's ongoing. That doesn't stop. But the belief in myself now has to align with how I package these things, how I deliver them to people. And maybe it's not a sold product. Maybe it's free, or maybe it's discounted, or maybe it's a group thing instead of a solo one-on-one thing. This is just one example. And I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but starting over isn't linear. Starting over isn't just one aspect of your life. Everything has to get audited. Everything has to get renewed, reframed, appreciated, shown gratitude, celebrated. Because life goes so quickly. And I was, looking back at my life, and even with all the loss and all the wins, Hashtag no regrets. In fact, now I'm like, sometimes I'm like, am I even living as full as I can? So starting over in your 40s is the journey that I think everyone should embrace. Or 30s or 20s, wherever you're at in life. Enjoy the process, enjoy the moments, have gratitude, start a gratitude journal in your phone if you have to just to document the process. Little things. I am grateful for this microphone. I'm grateful for my hoodie. I'm grateful for this camera. I'm grateful for every breath I take, every blink I blink, every hair on my head. There's so many things that we can be grateful for. It really does shift your attitude and perspective on life. And I think that's something we don't give ourselves enough credit for. You're not arrogant. You're not selfish for celebrating yourself. You're not self-centered for celebrating your wins. I think it's more powerful when we celebrate our wins. And it's a good filter as well, because you'll start to see who your real haters are or who's projecting on you. They may not be a hater, but their jealousy, their anger at themselves might start to come to the surface. And I've been there too. I've been a hater. But I realize it's much better to be a congratulator than a hater. But celebrate your wins. Know what that feels like more than the suffering and the pain that we go through. Who cares if you're behind on bills? Who cares if you're not making enough money? God is going to get you through that. But you also have to meet God halfway. I don't think this is just a one-sided job. I think God wants us to also learn the path. God wants to give us the keys, the tools, the resources, so we don't get into these situations ever again. Or when we do, or if we do, we're armored, we're protected, we're solid. Oh, I can get through this. Been there, done that. This is nothing. Even the most scariest things. I feel like every time I go to the dentist or the doctors, or I feel like a little different ache and pain somewhere in my body now that I'm in my 40s, I'm like, they have those thoughts, those scary thoughts, like of your life flashing right before your eyes. And for me, it's an exercise and a practice in trusting God wholeheartedly. And yeah, you might feel a little preoccupied, distracted, and you may not feel like life is ever going to be the same when you're going through these big life-altering changes, or you're having questions or doubts. But give yourself time to be alone with God and yourself and your thoughts. More often than not. That stillness, that silence is so necessary in order to have peace of mind. That's what I've learned, and I'm still learning. And starting over is just a starting point, a starting over from experience, not starting over because I keep giving up and I can't commit to anything, or I can't settle on something. No, every day is a blessing. That's why I say life is a blessing in every single video. Because I've seen people from a young age in my lifetime, too many times, leave this earth unfulfilled, quickly fulfilled, but just poof. And I take their lives and I say, this is for them. If they could, they would. So what's my excuse? I was going for my walk today, and I was so tempted to walk all the way home. It would have been like an hour and a half walk because I had a heavy Trader Joe's bag. But after a while, my feet and my back were starting to hurt. So I ended up calling a Lyft. But there were points on that walk early on where I was tempted to call a Lyft in those moments. And then who would turn the corner? An older person. Okay, I could do this. I can do this. My feet, my back, nothing hurts. I'm going to keep going. I just have this bag on my shoulder. Hey, this bag is probably, this bag weighs less than what I used to weigh. I lost, 20 pounds in the last couple of years. So I can do this. I can carry this weight for another block. So I'd walk a couple more blocks, and then right when I was about to give up, who comes up the hill? A grandma with their grandbaby, or mom with their baby. Nowadays, you never know. But a grandma with a baby in a stroller, pushing up that hill, and I'm going downhill. So I'm thinking, okay, I can do this. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I trust my body. This is an affirmation I say every day, and I think you should as well. I suggest, you don't have to, but I love my body. I trust my body. I was going through really bad menstrual cycles a couple years ago. Another thing I'll get into in future videos about, starting over in your 40s is the body changes, and my cycle was changing, and my eating habits were terrible. My teeth were going through a lot, and my cycle was just like, everything was changing. I felt so uncomfortable, and I was going to Beyonce. I think I have a vlog about this, but I was going to Beyonce, and I was on my cycle. And typically I like to stay home. I don't like to go out. And I said, I'm not going through this again. This is in 2023. Yeah, I remember. It was the Renaissance tour. And I was doing my morning walk, and I said, something has to change. And God spoke to me, and I just started saying, I love my body. I love my body. I trust my body. I love my body. I trust my body. Because in my brain, I was making up these stories, and I was so hyper fixated on the fact that I'm going to miss the whole concert. I'm going to be in the bathroom. I'm going to bleed through my pants. Like, I was having all these negative thoughts. And starting over in your 40s is a renewal of your mind as well. And I said, it's a beautiful day outside. The sun is shining. I'm going to see Beyonce. I got my outfit picked out. I'm pumped. I'm not going to let my period ruin this moment for me. And I was walking, I was praying, I was talking to myself, and I said, you know what? I love my body. I trust my body. And I've been saying that ever since. And having that attitude of gratitude about my body, because our bodies really are a temple. I used to cringe when people would say that, and now I get it. I really do get it. It's precious. And the moment I started telling myself that I love my body, I trust my body, the trust part was major, because I've always loved myself. But I didn't realize I did not trust myself. And I think I've just been on this journey of learning how to trust myself with God, through God's eyes, through God's love, wisdom, words, and resources. And that, in the best way, has boosted my confidence, has boosted my just inner self. Like, do you trust your body? Do you love yourself? I don't care if you think that's self-centered, ego-driven, self-serving, because it's not. I know it's not. God wants us to love ourselves. And if you don't, what's the point? He made you special for a reason. Embrace those special parts of you, even the parts that hurt. But it's your attitude towards said thing that you have the power to change. God's going to give you all the tools, but it's up to you to use them in the right places. So, starting over in your 40s is the journey that I'm on. I'm embracing every path and road that I'm on. I'm embracing building this empire that I know I'm capable of doing. I'm trusting God. I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting myself. I'm trusting the abundance. I think I was so afraid of abundance after a while, after once making a lot of money and then not. I ran away from it quickly. I'll talk about that in future videos and where I'm at today with that. But starting over in your 40s is a blessing. And let's talk about it. If you made it this far in the video, drop the word 40 up. Words 40 up, if I, just so I know you're watching this, and I hope these words resonate with you and reach the right people that need to be reached through this content, through this video, whether it's one person, 1,000, 1 million. I know God has a plan for everything that I'm doing, and this is all a part of the plan. Nothing is a failure, because failure is feedback. Go watch that video I posted about failure is feedback. And remember, life ain't perfect, but it is a blessing. And it's your girl Lilz. Fearless individuality yields abundant healing. Subscribe, like, comment. 84 Hoops crew. Join the crew. What you know about that? What you know about 84 Hoops crew? You thought.